So, you've been walking through an empty corridor, came out of an elevator, or perhaps just climbed up a staircase and you started to notice something. Your destination feels rather empty, sometimes even with unnatural or unexplainable events happening within them. You try to understand and are weirded out at the strange feeling that the places you are in should be brimming with life, or you notice that these places are constructed in much more different ways than what you were accustomed to. Walls are overlapping, corridors are repeating themselves, and so on. There is a high chance that you have entered what we call liminum. Who are we? Well, to put it simply, we are the people that roam this peculiar phenomenon, and some of us have been doing so for quite a while now. We refer to ourselves as spacers, those trapped within the realm that is both a dream of reality while being the reality of a dream. Allow me to explain. Liminum is something rather difficult to describe. Many of the people in here do not care to fathom what it means. They try to find an exit as quick as possible while not even knowing where to start searching, unlike us. We have tried to gain information about this place, find out how to lead those that enter to a safe exit. Over time, we started to understand the behavior in which liminum operates. Through this, we have set up quite a few theories that thus far seem to be verified with each moment that passes in here. Liminum itself is not a parallel universe and can only to a little degree be considered an alternate dimension, as it is only dependent on the entrance and exit points of reality. Liminum could best be seen as a fractured bridge between reality and non-reality. When we enter it, we mostly see places that are quite reality resembling. However, the more we travel through it, the more cracks you'll find in the bridge, and the more you'll distance yourself from what you can consider real. As said before, the first indications you'll notice when you enter liminum is that in most cases there isn't a sign of life around you anymore. You'll get a strange feeling of either familiarity and alienation at the same time, or a feeling of pure uneasiness that something is watching you through the space you are in. Venturing around yields strange sights, such as the typical things that shouldn't be there, or perhaps something far worse. We have decided to call these places of the bridge fragments, and the occurrences that happen within them anomalies, or, if you will, fragment anomalies. When you first enter liminum, the chance is high that you will find yourself within what we call a prime fragment. These are places that directly connect to reality, thus it is very likely that anomalies will not occur here, since the fragment is very reality resembling. However, a recent discovery on a left-behind tape recorder within one of the fragments has shown that this is not always the case. The cassette in it held a recording of a certain psychologist who was confronted with an escapee of liminum, retaining a rather strange mental side effect from it. Following that, the psychologist later found himself in a fragment that we codenamed Leakage. Leakage is a fragment that some of us have already had experiences with. It is described as a parking garage that can be endlessly traversed upwards or downwards. Next to that, a large steep spiral ramp can be found in the middle that seems to be the only way up or down, as the metal doors that line the sides of the garage only continuously move one onward onto the same level. The biggest anomaly in it, however, is that it is constantly being filled with water, sometimes reaching up to 27 inches high, making it difficult to traverse, especially when trying to move upwards. It is unknown what happened to the psychologist, as the recording was somewhat corrupted and static interferences frequently overplayed the events. We, however, haven't seen the man around, and hearing the last bit of the recording, we are pretty sure that he perished. During the end of the recording, it could be heard that he was seemingly attacked by something. This is not the first time events like these have happened. Multiple spacers have told stories about their experiences with these creatures. Eventually, it became clear to us that these beings mostly appeared in places where we felt at our most uncomfortable. They seemed to go sided with phobias for certain things. A good friend of mine called Alex Lyman suffers from a pretty common one called arachnophobia, or the fear of spiders. When traversing a fragment that resembled a cave system with a blue hue, he was eventually confronted with a creature that crawled through the cramped passages, containing a plethora of thin legs and sharp fangs. Thus, we've decided to call these things delusions. We theorize that since liminum is a connection to both that which is real and that which is not, the fears we carry within our minds manifest themselves into entities that can physically harm us. However, it is unknown if these creatures truly exist exclusively through our own subconscious. The recovery of the aforementioned recording has also verified some of our theories considering the laws of nature within liminum, as many spacers shared equal experiences with it. LIMINUM partly abides reality's rules of nature, however it also tends to make up its own. Some of these are constant and some vary. We decided to call this way of science rippled science. Probably the biggest constant within LIMINUM is the fact that time itself is inconsistent and random, thus leading to the term lim time. Experiences have shown that within most fragments of LIMINUM, lim time seems to affect certain objects while leaving others unaffected. The most noticeable fact is that some biological functions seem to hold completely, such as the regeneration process of wounds, or the natural operation of the digestive tracts, leading to days or weeks without the need to eat or drink. However, material objects seem to be mostly affected, sometimes to extreme amounts. A certain experience in which a person traversed a hallway with some glass windows had shown these glasses decomposing to sand within the span of just 20 seconds, which according to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services naturally would take up to 1 million years. Forming long-lasting bonds or even colonies is nearly impossible within LIMINUM, as it is unknown when spacers jump to a new fragment. One could be with a whole group of 7 people, only to turn around to see 4 people left, and when turning around again, being completely alone. As of current, spacers keep in touch with each other by leaving behind mementos that explain their experiences to others, sometimes in written fashion, other times with technology such as tape recorders or laptops. Lastly, I wish to explain one more theory that currently we try to understand. Death within LIMINUM doesn't seem to be working in the same way as it does in reality. I myself have been part of a small group for a while before we were attacked by a swarm of delusions. While I myself was lucky enough to escape, some of us weren't. However, quite a few months later, when I was within a fragment that resembled an abandoned smelter more or less, I noticed a person walking around that I presumed to be dead. When I addressed them, they were almost completely oblivious of any events, their minds blank of the occurrences, remembering the fragment itself as a mere faint dream. At first I assumed it was a special kind of delusion, especially since the person traversed with me for a while, and also because their wounds were completely gone. However, Alex came up with a theory that might explain the situation more. He explained that it could be a sign of an abbreviated form of quantum immortality. Normally, with quantum immortality, the person's consciousness is transferred to a different yet exact copy of the former host body in a parallel universe. In this abbreviation, however, since LIMINUM is not considered to be a parallel universe, another host is simply created at any random place within the LIMINUM, with the cost that the memory of this person is greatly damaged. This also makes it difficult to say that the psychologist's patient that escaped LIMINUM was a recreation, thus losing his memory for the most part, or if escaping LIMINUM on its own causes this effect. This is all the information I can give you so far. Should you go through experiences within this realm, write them down. Document them in any way, and if possible, try to explain them as thorough as you can. If you found a fragment we don't know about yet, tell us all about it. Write them down in our upcoming databank if possible, and keep it as detailed as you can. Classify the following things. Is the fragment considered to be stable and connected to reality like with a prime fragment? Or is it rather an abbreviation of a former fragment with noticeable changes, such as a shifted fragment? Or perhaps, is the fragment you find yourself in so filled with anomalies that you cannot even consider it to be close to reality, like with an anomalous fragment? Give it a code name so it's easy to distinguish. Describe its major anomalies. What sticks out most from this fragment that doesn't in others? Also try to describe its minor anomalies. Are there things more common, objects or events that also tend to appear in other fragments? Lastly, give us a full description of your surroundings. Tell us what you saw and experienced in as much detail as you can possibly give us. Considering delusions, well, we do not know much about their existence. Should you happen to stumble across one, describe it as much as you can as well. For instance, what does it look like, what traits does it possess, or how hostile is it? I wish you the best of success in your travels, and I hope you will go safely. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.